Hey everyone! Today, I'm diving into a lesser-known but incredibly significant event in African history, the 1966 Bakossi-Bamileke conflict. The year was 1966, a time riddled with political turbulence and emerging nations. Among these, in the heart of Cameroon, a conflict simmered between two ethnic groups, the Bakossi and the Bamileke. Under French colonial rule, the Bamileke birth rate grew, and their small territory's capability to support a large population was put to the test. Thus, beginning in the 1940s, Bamileke migrants continued and expanded the trend begun by the Germans almost 100 years earlier of moving to the Mungo region of the littoral, southwest and center provinces in order to work as laborers, open businesses or start farms. These farmers mostly purchased their land from the region's historical inhabitants, the Douala and Bakossi peoples. By the 1950s, the Bamileke had come to outnumber the native Doualas and Bakossi of the area. The original inhabitants of the region were growing increasingly disenchanted with having given up their lands. In 1955, the French banned a wing of the Union des Populations du Cameroun, UPC political party, which they deemed to be a terrorist group. This party had much support among the Bamileke, so many of them fled to the Tombel region of British Cameroon, today part of the Southwest Province. When further attacks on the French colonial government originated from the region, the native Bakossi were quick to blame the Bamileke newcomers. The Bamileke counter-accused the Bakossi of perpetrating the acts in an effort to reclaim their lands. A spate of skirmishes between the two groups soon followed, and attacks, blamed on the UPC militants, continued. The independence of French Cameroon on the 1st of January 1960 did not stop the tensions. Things finally came to a head in December of 1966. UPC militants attacked a Bakossi vehicle near the Bamileke settlement of Nken, at the edge of the Coupe Mountains of the Tombel region. The Bakossi blamed the Bamileke of the nearby villages of Ekonegbe and Isoke for the murders, and the victims' families and other enraged Bakossi sacked the villages. The government of British Cameroon sent troops to quell the violence, but not before many Bamileke settlers had been killed. So, why did these groups clash? On December 31, 1966, a mob of Bakossi in Tombel ran riot and slaughtered as many Bamileke as it could find. Tombel is located a short distance into West Cameroon on the Bamenda-Babajud-Shang road. First reports indicated that 68 people had been killed, but at the subsequent trial of the persons accused of participation in the massacre, the larger figure of 236 deaths was officially established. The government immediately rushed troops to the area, clamped down on movement and communication lest the Bamileke come across the state frontier to aid their ethnic brethren. Within 2 days, tensions had abated, and order was restored. 143 Bakossi were eventually brought to trial before a military court. 17 were condemned to die by a firing squad, 37 were sentenced to be detained for life, 38 to be imprisoned for life, 10 were jailed for 10 years, and 4 were detained for 20 years. 36 were freed, and 1 man died during the trial. The reasons for the massacre were complex, but this much seems to have been established. The immediate catalyst for the violence was the robbery and murder of 4 Bakossi, including a schoolteacher, by a group of bandits shortly before Christmas. It was widely assumed that the bandits were Bamileke, and that this act represented a deliberate provocation of the Bamileke against the Bakossi. Tensions were already high in the area because of what many Bakossi styled a Bamileke invasion of their area. Bamileke had in fact come in numbers to settle and buy land in the Tombel-Bamenda area, and had begun to control commerce in the area, as much as had the Nigerian Igbo in the Kumba area to the south. In any case, it was the old Problème Bamileke in a new and more deadly guise. This was the first serious mass violence involving the Bamileke since early 1960, when in retribution for the death of some Bamoun, an armed group of Bamoun crossed the Noun River and killed over 100 Bamileke. Unlike the later massacre, perpetrators of the 1960 killings were never brought to justice. Stories, a reliable source had it that the raid had been sanctioned by the Sultan of Bamoun, and that he had subsequently received several severed Bamileke heads as a token of success. The roots of this conflict trace back to colonial legacies, territorial disputes, and cultural differences. The Bamileke, known for their influential traders and strong social structures, and the Bakossi, with their deep spiritual traditions, found themselves at odds in a rapidly changing world. The spark? It was a dispute over land and political representation. The Tombel area was also the focus of very intensive anti-Maquisard operations, in which a lot of Bamileke men, women and children were killed by the Cameroonese army, often in joint operations with the West Cameroon Mobile Wing. This was not a period to be proud of. Bakossi children were taught to hate the Bamileke. According to Sadou Daoudou, the then minister in charge of the armed forces under former Cameroon's president Amadou Ahidjo, there were 3/4 Maquisards present in the Tombel area. Some even accused the Cameroonese government policy of clamping down UPC rebels fondly called the Maquisards, which created the tensions in Tombel that led to the massacres. They cracked down heavily on the population of Tombel, wantonly torturing and killing. During that period, the Cameroonese occupation government clamped down on the southern Cameroons and took away their civil liberties. Those were the consequences of British negligence by not leaving southern Cameroons with the means to defend itself. It was also alleged that British Army troops were also involved in killing and torturing Bamileke communists in the Santa border area. As Cameroon marched towards modern nationhood, these underlying tensions escalated into violent confrontations. Villages were razed, and communities were torn apart. The echoes of these battles reverberate through the annals of history, yet they remain overshadowed by more global events of the time. What's particularly fascinating is how this conflict influenced regional politics. It wasn't just about the Bakossi and the Bamileke, it involved national power dynamics and the influence of emerging global ideologies during the Cold War. Understanding this conflict offers us insights into the complexities of African politics and the struggles of post-colonial states. It's a stark reminder of how history is shaped by a tapestry of interconnected events, often hidden in the shadows of larger narratives. This dive into the past isn't just about recounting tales of strife. It's about understanding the human experiences behind these conflicts and recognizing the resilience of these communities. Today, both the Bakossi and Bamileke contribute vibrantly to Cameroon's cultural and political landscape, showcasing the possibility of reconciliation and growth. So, the next time you look at a map of Cameroon, remember the intricate and poignant stories of its people. Stories like the Bakossi-Bamileke conflict of 1966, which teach us about the complexity of human nature and the enduring spirit of communities. Thanks for tuning in and keep exploring the hidden corners of history with me. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that we can bring you more from back in history. Until next time, stay curious.